Well, good evening. I'm David Day, and I'm here for Seymour's World. And guess what? I'm not Seymour, but Seymour is in Bangkok, Thailand. And Seymour, are you there? Come on in.
I am here. Thank you, David, and hello, everybody. Welcome to Seymour's World. I'm Seymour Kazimirski. We are in Bangkok, Thailand today. It is 5 a.m. in the morning, so don't complain about the way I look. This is just the way it is at 5 a.m. We're originally here, David, to work with the Black Rice Project, which is a nutritional antioxidant product that's being developed for worldwide consumption, especially in Africa and some of the developing nations. Dan Foxman, who is going to be my guest here today, unfortunately is in the hospital and he could not join us. So I want to thank you very much, David, for subbing in and coming in on such short notice, and I shall be on your hot seat. So go ahead.
Well, you know, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at a situation in Thailand where we've got an enormous political upheaval underway. We don't know whether it's going to be a little blip or whether it's going to be an earthquake. There is talk about a potential civil war in the country. And yet, Seymour is there doing business. And so what we thought we would do today, by way of a conversation between Seymour and myself, is look at some of the pieces of doing business in a milieu where you've got serious social or political upheaval, and see if we can make some sense of this in how to do it in Thailand at this time and in this place. But then we'll look at some of the larger ramifications of doing that type of business or surviving in that type of situation, maybe in other places in the world, because Thailand is not the only place that is facing enormous political upheaval. And Seymour, maybe let's a good place for us to start with that by way of background is to if you could give our audience maybe just a little thumbnail sketch in terms of depth of what this political upheaval, this situation in Thailand really is. And before you do that, ladies and gentlemen, let me let Seymour think about the answer to that question. But I want to point out to all of you in the audience that Seymour Kazimirski is a businessman from Honolulu here, and he has had basically 3+ decades of experience doing business in Thailand. So we have the opportunity to hear from someone who has very strong connections with the country and his business feet firmly planted on the ground. So now over to you, Seymour. What is the situation in Thailand that we're going to be talking about by way of framework today?
Well, the first thing we have to realize is, of course, the media and what we see in Honolulu and around the world, they focus on the protesters.
Right.
We have to understand that business goes on with the protests here or not. There is definitely a red side and a yellow side. You've heard about the red shirts and the yellow shirts. One supports the government and one does not. This is not the first time. This has happened in the past decade, probably 3 or 4 times, and Thailand has survived and survived very well. The issue becomes, what are they fighting about? They're fighting about greed and corruption. And greed and corruption in politics translates to greed and corruption in business. You can't help it. And having done business here for many years in India, in China, and several other countries, we realize that that's the way business works. And it may not work like that in the U.S., or maybe it's not like that on the surface in the U.S., but here,
I think surface
it's
is better.
definitely the way to do business. And we have to be prepared, whether it's Indonesia or whether it's the Philippines. We've done deals with the Marcos Development Corporation. We work with the Thaksin government here. We work with the Suharto government in Indonesia. You have to work with them to do business. So what is this all about? Basically, it's a group of demonstrators led by a faction who are not in the government at all presently,
okay,
who want the government to change. They want a more honest government. And it's something that they probably don't realize is not a very easy thing to do. It's extremely difficult. What goes on in business today? It's business as usual, except in the tourist area. which is a big part of their gross domestic product. So we see a very, very big reduction right now. Their hotel rooms are running between 20 and 40% occupancy. The restaurants are dying, basically. So it is going to cause a problem. We also see another phase of it, and that is foreign investment in Thailand. It has dropped off, and everybody is stopping because they want to see what's going to happen. Under the previous rule, under the Thaksin rule, investment was flourishing because you knew who you were dealing with.
You had, and that's Seymour. Let me interrupt you. That's
Yeah.
because as the Prime Minister, Thaksin laid out a program and a government that promoted enormous stability in Thailand. Did he not?
Correct.
And so, just for
Yes, go
our
ahead.
for our audience here, the current Prime Minister of Thailand, I think she's still current. I may be wrong, but is actually Thaksin's younger sister? Am I correct here?
There's questions. There are questions out there whether she is his younger sister, his niece. There is a lot of issues about who she actually is. But at this point in time, let's say she's a family member. How's that?
Okay.
And as a family member, she is running the country. And unfortunately, a lot of Thailand believe that Thaksin is still involved, even though he was summarily kicked out of Thailand. And he is living right now in the United Arab Emirates. So there is a link there because of the family relationship that a lot of the people don't like and feel that they kicked him out, and yet they still have remnants of him in the current political area. So that's what they're all fighting about. The biggest issue is what is happening here in Thailand. It could be, and I think you put it very well, it could be a blip, as several others. You remember the Marcos era in the Philippines. What happened after that? And continued greed and corruption with Aquino and with all of even today they're talking about greed and corruption. I don't know if it's as simple, David, as let's just put in somebody who's going to eliminate greed and corruption. In this part of the world, it is an accepted practice, and I don't think it's one way. You can't just slice it with a knife and say we are not going to have greed and corruption anymore. I don't think that's possible. I think it's the way of the people here.
Seymour, I agree with you. I think that the difficulty with these governments around the world that are rife with greed and corruption is that the solution is actually a combination of it's going to require a change in culture, and so we've got in a country like Thailand or Philippines, it's actually a multi-generational solution, assuming and this is a huge assumption that you have leadership over those generations that will be consistent. It's kind of like the analogy I like to use in cleaning up corruption is that it's almost like trying to turn an aircraft carrier. You have to get committed, hold the helm or the wheel over for a long time, and it takes education and rule of law and enforcement over a long period of time. So, yeah, I just want to underscore for our audience precisely what you've said is right on the money. And Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, China, many countries are a long ways from cleaning it up. And a lot of times what they do is they just give a little bit of lip service, as you know.
Right. But we also have to understand, because we are not holier than thou. The glass house of the United States, we shouldn't throw stones. Talking about other people, we also have our own issues when it comes to that. And I don't want everybody to think that I'm preaching here. The U.S. has just as many problems in business in the areas that I deal in as the rest of the world does. First, let's look at Thailand. Thailand has a wonderful medical system. It has excellent roads. It's got their social programs are excellent. People are always smiling. They're extremely willing to work. They're what I call a second-tier manufacturing and production center. First tiers would be China and India, for instance. Second tiers would be Thailand, Malaysia, in this area in the Far East. And I've always come here because I've wanted to make sure that I have a second-tier manufacturing source for products. And I trust the Thai people. I liked what certain of the past leaders have done, where they put in duty-free trade zones and encouraged German, French, Dutch, American companies to come in and set up factories. Japanese companies, for instance, are here by the droves. They make cars here. This is not a poor country that we're talking about. The society is very different from what we're used to as Americans, but it's very workable. They have excellent technological advancing here. You've heard of medical tourism, for instance.
Sure,
and that's become a big business in Thailand. Beautiful, wonderful resorts tied right next to a hospital. So if you want to go and have a hip replacement, there's a beautiful hospital, perfect doctors, educated in the UK and in the US, and you recuperate in a 5-star resort next door with everything that you need. They have some wonderful business opportunities, but the problem is today. Now, do we make a big deal out of it? Is this just something that is going to be a blip, or will it be an earthquake, as you said? And I think we have to look at it. In my opinion, I think it's a blip. I don't think it's an earthquake. I would not discourage people from looking at Thailand as manufacturing and production facilities, but I would encourage people to wait a little bit and see what happens with it. We've seen how the Philippines has suffered dramatically after what happened with Marcos, and it has not recovered as well as we thought it would. And would I go down there to make product? No, I would not. Well, I would hesitate about moving there. Thailand today, I would say let's hold a little bit and wait and see what goes on.
Seymour, let me interrupt you for a moment here, because we want to get into kind of the impact of the current political protest on the business climate, and very quickly, and we'll do that when we come back from the break here. But I did want to point out one interesting thing before we do go to the break, and that is that, you know, you mentioned the kind of the Rolls-Royce medical tourism aspect of the Thai economy. And one of the things that has occurred, or is occurring now in the United States, as our healthcare system is either sliding or imploding, depending upon your political perspective, is that a lot of people are talking about Thailand being the beneficiary of the slide in U.S. healthcare. And so that we'll see more and more Americans going to Thailand for various types of treatment, and I think that that's something to keep in mind as we move forward in the future. Do you see that happening now as more Americans?
Yes, I do. It's not just Thailand. It's several other East Asian countries where hip replacements, knee replacements, heart, etc., are done at a fraction of the cost. I have friends who have gone to India to get procedures done, coming here to get procedures done. If you want to get LASIK eye surgery here, it's $200 to get LASIK eye surgery versus $2,000 in the U.S. So it's a big deal, obviously. Yes, there's you have to figure out all of the extraneous costs involved, but medical tourism is very, very big, but not the biggest. After the break, David, we have to explore what's happening with oil here. They have discovered oil in the Andaman Sea, which is right off Thailand.
Fantastic. Well, let's do that after the break. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Seymour's World, and we will see you on the other side of the break.
Castle and Cooke, Hawaii. Investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics. Empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone. Bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Shidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
We're back. You're watching Seymour's World, and if you probably noticed the difference in the way I look, guess what? I'm not Seymour. I'm David Day, and Seymour Kazimirski is sitting in Bangkok, Thailand, and we've been able to capture him before his business day gets underway, and we're really talking about the whole issue of business survival in the middle of a political crisis there in Thailand. And so coming back to you, Seymour, what is really the effect of the ongoing political upheaval and protests in Thailand on the day-to-day business there in Bangkok?
Well, the original protest, of course, got a tremendous amount of press. And the press worldwide came down here to see what was going on. And basically, it was almost 1 million people in 2 huge parks. And they are protesting what is obviously the current political system. And it's not up to us to say whether it's good or bad. I can just tell you that from a business perspective, we have decided that we are going to continue to do business here in Thailand, but we're not going to open up any new factories. And I think that's something that a lot of us in the business world are looking at and saying we have to hold. And we talked about that in the first segment. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the protest. Today, the protest is in a park that's about, I'd say a square mile, and there's maybe 1,000 people that are camping out. And they've got tents and food and all that stuff. And it's really, the news is not covering it. I don't think we've seen anything on it, have we? And CNN or any of the major stations.
No, they're all focused on trying to find the missing Malaysian jet.
Right. And I don't think anything will happen again until the election and the results and all that stuff comes out. So what is the real aspect of doing business in Thailand today? It has hurt the tourism industry, which we talked about.
Okay.
It has hurt foreign investment because people are waiting to see who is going to be in power and whether we're going to go back to a semi-dictatorship or an open democracy, what the rules and laws are going to be. At this stage, they have ISO 9000, which is a certification. They have everything that everybody needs to do business. Except for the tourism industry, I have to tell you, it's business as usual. It's nothing has changed. Now, when I say business as usual, we are not looking at investing any more money in Thailand at this stage, but we are still continuing to do business. We're not scrambling to try to move our factory somewhere else. It is not as bad as people think it is.
Seymour, your analysis of the whole business situation in Thailand in the middle of and it is truly the potential for a civil war if it is not resolved, kind of reminds me of that I think it's an old Kenny Rogers song called The Gambler. And the words that go something like, you've got to know when to hold and you got to know when to fold. And so what you're saying is now is the time to hold on, but maybe not pour in new factories, new investment. Something like that?
Yes, that's the way. Exactly, David. The feeling I get from my contacts and what's going on here is this is a blip. And I assume the current administration will be forced out. I think, people have accused the old administration of paying people to go and vote. You get 100 baht to go and vote once you show that you made your mark. It's the dichotomy here is that 90% of the business is done right here in Bangkok and in the surrounding areas where all the free trade zones are. But this is a huge country. And it is a beautiful country. You have mountains up north around the Chiang Mai area with beautiful farms and some factories. Down south you have beaches that rival Hawaii, unfortunately. We lose a lot of our tourists that come here because it's so much less expensive to come here to Phuket and Pattaya. There is business going on. It is not as dramatic and as drastic as we see. I look at this very similar to what the press did during Israel's and the Palestinians' fight, where everybody was afraid to go to Israel because they thought bombs were going to be falling. And yet, when I went to Israel 2 or 3 years ago, I found myself very safe. I didn't feel that there was anywhere near as much as what we had seen on television to scare us. So, from the business perspective, from the tourist perspective, the demonstration and the protest is in a small little area in a park. That's about it today.
Okay.
What will happen when the election comes and the results are out, and whether they accuse them of major corruption and things like that, I don't know. But at this stage, I am not seeing anything where the army, or they call it the military here, is going to clamp down and just shut the country up. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, Seymour, let's talk about just very briefly now, as a subpart to this analysis of the current situation in Thailand. What is the talk on the streets as to the ability of the current king, Bhumipol, to, given his health, his age, and sickness, to mediate the dispute between the factions if it should become necessary, as it has in the past? Is the king viewed now as still able to perform that mediating function?
Let's first explain to everybody that this is a kingdom. So the king is the ultimate ruler here in Thailand. It's different from where the queen in the UK is basically a symbol.
Yeah,
here, the king truly is the ultimate ruler, and there is tremendous respect for the king. He is the final decision maker. But in the past 30 years that I've been here, a lot of stuff has gone on, and the king has not said a word about it. He very seldom gets involved in the actual politics until the bitter end. And at the end, of course, he will make the decision for the people. The king is so revered here in Thailand. The people love him because he has spent millions and millions of dollars on the poor, on the health system, on helping people here. He is truly for the people, but not ingrained in politics. He allowed Thaksin to do whatever he wanted to do, as long as the king was able to do the projects that he wanted to do. So I'm not sure if the king will do any type of mediation. The king will try to, if there is a civil war, he will try to stop that. I'm quite sure that'll happen. And I don't think there will be a civil war, in my opinion.
Okay.
This country, David, is built on business, and business and wars do not do very well together, especially for foreign investment. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think the king, unfortunately, he's in failing health, and he has a son who's approximately, the king is 86, the son is 60 years old, and he could very easily take over very, very soon. He is also not very involved in business. He's more involved in personal things, pleasures for his lifestyle and that kind of stuff. So he is not really like the old king, but he will be the successor. And I think he will also stay away from adjudicating any of the issues that come up within the political realm.
Okay, let's go to the topic as we wind up this segment of the show, Seymour. Let's go to the topic of oil. You mentioned right before the last break that Thailand has discovered oil reserves in the Andaman Sea. So Tell the audience, what's that all about, and what does it mean?
Well, in the past, Thailand, as most other countries, were dependent on Arab oil or foreign oil. Now, having oil and finding it, they are looking at being an exporter. And that'll help them tremendously with China and some of the other countries that are around here. I'm talking about around the South Asia Sea area. There is going to be, in the opinion of what I've been reading and talking to with the current people, they are going to have enough oil, not just for themselves, but for export, which will triple triple their GDP. They're
Wow.
going to be doing extremely well. And they don't have a lot of the problems that other countries have in making sure that they take it out properly. They are drilling right now, and they are putting up as many derricks as they can. U.S. companies, by the way, are involved in it, which is wonderful. Exxon is involved in it, and it's become a real shift. It's a geopolitical shift where everybody was focused on what can Thailand make with what they have based on their people power, meaning the amount of people that can work. But now all of a sudden they have a product in oil that they can sell, which comes out of the ground. And we all know what that spigot has done to many, many, many countries.
You know, Seymour, we're going to go to a break here in just a second, and I want to leave you with one thought which I would like to discuss with you when you return to Honolulu, and that is that there are interesting geopolitical developments as a consequence of this large discovery of energy offshore with Thailand, and also an enormous offshore discoveries of oil and natural gas off of Israel, and the tremendous political realignments that are going to take place as a result of these two countries picking up some major resource finds. And we'll talk about that over coffee when you return to Honolulu. But I want you to stay with us, Seymour. We have more, ladies and gentlemen, on the survival of business in the midst of a political crisis in Thailand with here on Seymour's World. I'm David Day. I'll see you on the other side of the break.
I'm Jay Fidel. That's Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And every Wednesday we have Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. We've been doing it for some time now, and we have some fantastic guests on there, unbelievable guests who give us insight into what is going on in a very complex, sometimes very confusing, sometimes very disappointing area of progress in the state. So we love doing this. We love meeting them. We love talking to them. We love having their ideas out on the table. So maybe, just maybe, we can all make some sense of what's going on. Sharon, what do you think?
I think that's absolutely correct. We enjoy ourselves meeting with all these people and hearing about the energy and the state of clean energy, and hopefully we advance clean energy for the state. So it's terrific. Join us.
Okay, it's every Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is Energy Day. Every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, here on ThinkTech Hawaii. We'll see you there.
We're back. This is Seymour's World. We're being broadcast live here from the Pioneer Plaza at the heart of downtown Honolulu. And we've got an extraordinary show underway thanks to the fact that your beloved host, Seymour Kazimirski, is sitting in Bangkok, Thailand, and we are taking advantage of his business experience over 3 decades. And we're also taking advantage of the fact that he's in Thailand to try to develop a conversation that is helpful, I think, for business entrepreneurs, executives, and companies doing business in places where things are not totally stable. Something like that. And Seymour, let's take kind of a broader approach on this conversation. Maybe we'll go up to 50,000 feet, and let's pretend that I have a couple of business executives here in the studio with me, and they want to know from you, what do you see as kind of a checklist of things they might do differently if they were trying to operate either in the political turmoil of Thailand today, or take Thailand out of the equation in a larger sense in other countries where they're faced with political turmoil and upheaval? What do you think are the key points that they need to keep in mind?
First, David, let me thank you for subbing in for me today. David was called on short notice, ladies and gentlemen, and he just walked in and said, of course I'll help. I know I have never had the opportunity to do it for him, but David, if you ever need a sub, I owe you one. So that's really
I'm glad to do it. And, you know, it's an honor to be on your show, Seymour, here. So help me with these imaginary executives who could have been in the studio with us and who are watching this program. How can your experience in Thailand help them?
Well, we have to look, before we get to a direct checklist of what do I make sure I do before I do business in Thailand, we have to understand the history, and we have to understand how to do business in Thailand or in Southeast Asia in general. This is not an easy place to do business. It is...
No kidding.
It's a different... are we still on?
Yes, we are.
Okay. It's a different place to do business because the rules of what we feel are engagement of business rules are different in Southeast Asia. So for instance, when you come down here and you want to open up a factory and you want to do it as a foreigner, you have to have a local partner. So how do you know if the partner is a good partner or not a good partner? There are many things many T's that have to be, T's and I's that have to be dotted and crossed to make sure that you know what you're doing in Thailand. Number one, understand the history, understand the business climate here.
Okay.
They have, as in China, as in India, and many other countries in Southeast Asia, a tremendous workforce. The people here love to work. They work for a lot less money than anywhere else in the world. I'm talking about Europe and the Americas. And they will work hard and do a good job. They demand at least a decent wage based on the scales here, but they will do the work under your supervision. So very often I recommend to a lot of my clients who want to do business in Asia to be prepared that they need to have American leadership coming in here, American management, to help with the operation, because they really are great followers. They are not great initiators, but very, very good followers. I have a good friend and a client who's up in Chiang Mai who supplies products to General Motors and Chrysler, and he builds them over here. But he made sure that he's got German engineers that are here to manage the factories for him. The workforce is all Thai, but the management is all American. It's changing a little bit, but I recommend to anybody who wants to do business in this area that they consider making sure that their management is here. That's number one on the checklist. Number two, the political situation. I don't want to make light of it, David, but I want everybody to know it's not as bad as it seems.
Okay.
And we talked about it a little bit in the previous break. There is political upheaval, but it's not at the point where I would expect civil war or I expect new rules about foreign corporations, which was an issue we had in China, as you know, a few years ago. I don't think it'll happen here. I think Thailand will still be a very good place to do business as soon as this little blip is taken care of. I think Thailand will be an area where we will get level 2 manufacturing and production rather than level 1. And you'll be able to get products made here very, very easily. They have rules about duty and taxes for foreign corporations that are excellent. They haven't changed those, and I don't anticipate they will change. So number one is make sure you understand management comes in here. Number two, understand the culture of the Thai business community. It is not the same as our business community, and you have to understand they work at a different speed than we do. So both sides have to learn from each other. It has been my privilege and pleasure to work with several Thai companies and find them very, very capable and very, very willing to learn.
You know, that checklist that you've given, Seymour, is precisely what's needed for the business person or the entrepreneur going into any number of countries and not just Thailand. And I would add on to that list two things that you could start right now if you were going into a country without spending a lot of money. One is that you could go on the website of export.gov for the U.S. Commercial Service, look up Thailand or any country, and in that website will be a white paper that's very extensive. It's revised typically on an annual basis on doing business in that particular country. And so this checklist, Seymour, that you've given, a number of these things are developed nicely in a written piece that anybody could download and start, that they can begin the work that you're talking about. You also, ladies and gentlemen, have to appreciate that Seymour has 3 some odd decades of working in Thailand, and so you're not going to get everything, but at least you can get started. And then, Seymour, I want to ask you, okay, you have this checklist, you're doing business in a country, what do you do differently in the midst of a political crisis in a country? What's different? What are the 2 or 3 little gold nuggets that you would pass to my imaginary executives sitting in the studio with me that they need to be aware of if they were there with you right now?
The first one would be is work at the pace of the Thai, which means don't assume that you can come in here and expect them to work at the paces that you dictate. That's not going to happen.
Excellent.
And very often that's one of the failures that we see in a lot of American businesses going overseas to the Asia marketplace. Probably the biggest failure that I see. Number 2, if you're coming to work in a country where there is a political upheaval, understand that things are going to work slower, and getting government regulations passed for your type of business. And there are plenty of government regulations here in Thailand, as everywhere, as in China, etc. It is going to take a much longer period of time. So whatever you have in your business plan, make sure that you understand that it's going to take a longer period of time to get whatever done that you need. In China, for instance, today, a few years ago, we opened up a company with a Chinese partner, and the estimated time for getting all of our regs in, our regulations in, was 90 days. We had them done in 22 days. It's who you know. And in Thailand, it's who you know as well, and it's the respect and responsibility of knowing somebody high up enough in the business climate that gets things done in this area of the world. Maybe it's not different in the U.S. I mean, I have so many experiences dealing with the U.S. government that I could say it's also who you know, but it's different here. Different being for you investors that you must find somebody who knows your type of business and can help you get what you need done quickly, because otherwise it could be a very long road to success.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a break now, and we'll have more with Seymour from Bangkok when we come back. Stay with us.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
We're back. You're watching Seymour's World, and we are talking about business survival in Thailand amidst a political crisis. And Seymour Kazimirski is sitting in Bangkok early in the morning, and he's with us. And what I wanted to ask you, Seymour, as we kind of come into the home stretch of this show, I'm curious as to whether or not if things in the political situation in Thailand really does go sour and it gets violent, do you see the Thai military as a stabilizing force, a kind of a cavalry that comes over the hill to the rescue, or are they part of the problem?
I think again, we have to understand the history. In the past, the military is tied into one side or the other. At the present time, the military is tied into the present government. So if we are to say that a civil war is going to happen, will the military switch over to the opposition? I think they would. I think they would go with whatever the flow is, and that's happened in the past before. So even when Thaksin was kicked out of Thailand, it took a while for the military to switch over to the other side. And they did allow the democratic process of elections to survive before they switched over. And they were part of the problem as well. There was a lot of killing. I think you probably remember that. But here at this stage, it's a quiet revolution. It is not a revolution that we see a lot of guns and firing. It's nowhere near what it was in the past. When I was here in the past, we hunkered down in the hotel for 5-6 days because we were afraid of walking out on the street. Nobody wears red shirts and yellow shirts today because we say you don't want to be seen as one or the other side. So the threat of the military at this stage is not there, and I don't think it'll affect one way or the other what happens with the country's politics.
Seymour, do the people in the street, or the common people, do they have a similar view of the military like we have seen in Egypt, where they see the military as the force of stability in the country, of nationalism, of a kind of a force of last resort? How do the people see the Thai military?
The Thai military has always been with the current administration. So in this case, as in Egypt, now in Egypt, you know, the military switches with whomever's wearing the pants that day. I think here in Thailand, it's basically the same thing. The current military and the people out there in the streets agree with each other, but yet there is a distance between them because they know that they represent who they don't want to be in power. Nobody is throwing bombs at the military installations here or anything like that. It's not happening. But I do want to say one thing about the common guy that's out there, the taxi driver and the guy who's a street vendor. They are doing business as usual, but they are cautious. They are not talking a lot about what's going on. They feel that the administration needs to change. I would say, and I don't know what the election results will actually turn out, but I would say 70 to 80% believe that they need an out of Thaksin type regime and get somebody else in there. The problem is, as in many other areas, and you brought up Egypt, who's going to take his place? Who do you believe is going to be a new guy? And everybody points to the Philippines and says that since Marcos, they've had 3 or 4 rulers, and each one of them has been convicted of frauds and all types of things. It's an issue that I think they realize it's not as simple as they see. So they are not just jumping on the bandwagon of the red shirts or the yellow shirts. They want to see what happens with the election. And I think the result of the election she will resign, Thaksin's niece, sister, daughter, mistress, whoever she will resign, and at that point in time, things will get back to normal and they'll elect a new democratic leader.
You know, I find this conversation very interesting, Seymour, in the sense that your experience in Thailand and depth in Thailand really shows through. But clearly, for people who are watching this program, you know, the lessons learned and the advice that you're giving applies to just about any country in the world. And you know, the issue that the people of Thailand are going to be dealing with in the next several weeks and months is they're going to hold an election, and the troubling problem that's bothering most of these protesters, or all these protesters, has to do with the topic of greed and corruption. Isn't that correct?
Correct. And I think it's something that they wrestle with. I mean, greed and corruption is something that has been here for so long, David. It's not an easy thing to say we're going to stop greed and corruption. It's just not going to happen. The people want a leader who they can respect, who they believe is going to lead them down the path to economic prosperity. With oil in the Andaman Sea, there'll be more money to them. With the Thai economy growing, don't forget the currency has devalued by 28%. That's a big devaluation in just the 6 months now.
Boy.
So where we were at 39 baht to the dollar, we are now at 31 baht to the dollar and continuing to drop. That's not a good sign. So things are definitely going to change. I think it'll be a transition phase over the next 6 to 8 months. A new leader will pop in, and I think that the oil in the Andaman Sea is going to have a lot to do with it, because that money will be able to be transferred to the farmers and the people, and they will feel economic prosperity. When that happens, everybody seems to accept things a lot easier.
You know, Seymour, this whole part of the show that you brought up about the energy discoveries in the Andaman Sea, it really does change both the economic, the political, and the social landscape in Thailand big time. And if you're willing to do so, you know, when you return to Hawaii here, I think one of the things that we might want to consider doing is focusing in on the geopolitical ramifications of this enormous energy discovery, because it's going to take Thailand catapulted into the realm of a energy exporter, which is a game changer for Southeast Asia.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just want to say that the Thai economy and the Thai people are not struggling at this present moment. Everybody is doing fine. It's okay. There's still a very solid business climate here, but the wait and hold attitude, until any new government in the world, there's always a wait and hold attitude, because nobody is sure of what's going to happen. We do the same thing in our markets in the U.S. I don't want people to think that the end of Thailand is near. I don't think so. I have more faith in Thailand's survival for their economy as I do other countries in this area. I think Thailand will end up in a very, very good state.
So in the midst of this political crisis, Seymour, what you are really saying is that from the perch where you sit, Thailand is actually on the cusp of building a whole new era for itself, and you know, we have to just accept this political situation as it exists now as something very temporary, and the good times are coming over the horizon.
I think so.
Is that correct?
Yes, I think so. I think that's very well summed up. I think because of what's happening with the oil, and because of getting a new leadership in the country, we are going to see prosperity again in Thailand. I think the people here are amongst the hardest working people in Southeast Asia. And although I have factories in China, here, in many, many different countries that I work with, I actually feel that this country is a wonderful place to be in. And there's no doubt in my mind that we will go through this and it'll be okay. I'm not saying how long a period it's going to take, but I don't think it'll be too long. Nothing takes too long in Asia. It's not like certain other countries. When things change, they change fairly quickly.
You know, Seymour, Thailand has been for quite a long time a very valuable ally of the United States, and it is been a very valuable business partner of the United States. And I think one of the things that we have to remind our American viewers is that the road to democracy and the building of a civil society is always a long, hard, and in many cases a very bloody road. And Thailand will get there. And I think that's the powerful point that you're making here. And
that's exactly what I'm saying, David. I feel that when we compare, and don't forget we get so much news about Egypt and what's happening in the Middle East. This is not the same, and a lot of people have tried to compare it. It is really not the same. We'll do another show on it. I actually like your idea.
Well, Seymour, I want to thank you for the early morning rise there in Bangkok. This has been a wonderful conversation that I know has been of enormous significance to our viewers, particularly our folks in the business community. And I look forward to your safe return to Honolulu, and Godspeed, good luck on your business endeavors, and I'll see you when you get back here on Bishop Street. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time here, and thank you for joining me here on Seymour's World. Please have a safe drive home.